Hello, friends. How are you guys doing? I hope you all are doing good and enjoying our podcast. We are back again with our episode number 5. Isn't
That's crazy,
right?
Yeah.
It's already episode 5.
Yeah.
I hope you guys are enjoying it. Please do subscribe our channel. And also, if you feel that you have been blessed through our talks, please feel free to comment or reach out to us. We have given that information in the description. You can find our information in description. Please feel free to reach out to us anytime via email or phone. We are here for you guys. We want to assure that. And we are here for our another talk, and it's already episode 5. And I have Pastor Jaison with me. Let's welcome him.
It's amazing that, I was just thinking through that, going through different shifts in the episodes. If you look at the episode, recorded in different format, done in different places, right? But that shows that, there's a progress happening, So I'm just thankful for every opportunity that we get and every unique ideas that we can incorporate in bringing this content out, right?
All right.
So yes. What are we talking today?
That's what, last week we talked about power of now, how important for us to understand the moment and release our faith and experience that now moment. This week I felt like we have to talk about something related with time, right?
Yeah.
Most of us we may feel like, hey, time is limited, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was reading this book called Redeeming the Time, and he, even in the introduction part itself, what really excited me to read that book was the introduction. One point he mentioned was, to understand time, you have to understand the author of time. Isn't that amazing? Right? Understand who created this time, right? We didn't create it, right? Our ability could not have created it, right? There is somebody divine sitting up there who created time, right? So I felt like, hey, we need to understand that. We need to dissect that, or we need to even have that sift of the paradigm in understanding the time. And since you always talk about it, the Kairos and the Kronos, I thought you would be the right person to help our audience, especially understand this. So, I would really want you to explain the difference between Kairos and Kairos.
Kairos and Kronos.
Kronos and Kairos. I'm sorry. Kronos and Kairos, yeah.
Yeah, wow. It's a very profound, two profound words that you can find, not just in the Bible, actually. You can find it in the philosophical world, you can find it in the literatures, and it literally describes different aspects of time. One is divine moment, and one is man moment. How you and I, we are in a time zone, in a time sphere, which is limited by our clock. 24 hours, 7 days, it divided into months and years. So those are Kronos time, right? What is Kairos then? Kairos is literally, in a very plain and simple definition, it is a divine moment. It reminds us about opportunity and a moment that can only happen by a divine power.
Right.
In other words, by God, that He activates in our lives. Kairos moment are the moment where you get some breakthroughs.
Right.
You've been working on a project, and you say, "Man, how in the world, a result is going to come out of this, right?" And out of nowhere, a result comes out.
Yep.
But the amount of work that you put in, that was in a Kronos time, right? You're putting hours and hours. So you're putting that time based on your calendar, your
Right.
time, your availability, right?
Right.
When that answer happens, because when you are putting your time and effort, you don't know when the answer is going to come,
Right.
right? It's input happening, right? But those inputs are happening in the luxury of your time,
Right.
right? So either you are taking it away from your leisure time, family time, whether a lot of time you're doing invention and the work and in your language coding and all that,
Right.
in your workspace and all that, right?
Right.
So once that time is spent, it's spent.
Spent. Gone.
You cannot go back, right?
Right.
But when the answer happens, when the Kairos happen, when that moment happen, when you get the result, that moment is defined as a Kairos moment. So when
Right.
that moment happens, all the investment of that Kronos time, all the sacrifice, it just turns into investment.
Right. No. Yeah.
It
Absolutely.
brings so much joy.
Yep.
You see, wow, this is amazing, So you don't think about all the pain that you've been through. You don't
Right.
think about all the moments that you were pulling your hair, how
Right.
the things are going to happen. Now you're excited, you're happy. Why? Because that Kairos moment happened.
No, absolutely. Yeah, yeah. When you said that, I remembered, it was my very early days as a data scientist career. You know which background I come from, right? I don't come from IT or programming background. My background is like a paramedical, like a pharmacy background.
Yeah.
And, coming here,
Science and medicine.
science and medicines, all those kind of stuff. And then suddenly we had to make that change, and then God took us in a different direction. Now when I see 6 years back, now makes sense. But but that then it didn't make sense, right? But when we took that route, right, especially during my early days, when I used to sit down and coding, data science is not a fun job. Like you need to know like 5 different disciplines, and then you're working with the best brains out there, right? And then I used to put a lot of hours studying these things, right? My mind has a limited resources, right? I don't have a fine foundational background in statistics. I don't have foundational background on mathematics. I don't have foundational background on programming, right? I'm not a very good presenter. I don't know like presenting skills. But when I literally experienced that Kairos moment that you told, the moment when I all the investment that I did, the hard work, whatever my mind could comprehend and whatever I could understand, I put that time, effort, on those things. And when God time activated, boom, and that's why, it makes sense to me to talk about this. So that's why, and I'm really excited to talk about this. That's why I really wanted to talk about it. And probably, our viewers may be going through that, they may be stuck in something. And I was like, probably you may be experiencing that, hey, it doesn't make sense to me now, But one thing I want to encourage you today is, work on it, invest your time, have that faith, you are going to experience that Kairos moment.
Absolutely. While Kairos and Kronos are two different concepts, right? But I would like to say, even taking your example, they both are important in our lives.
Yes.
You cannot pick and choose. You cannot just say that, I'm just going to sit back and expect Kairos moment.
Right.
Let's paraphrase that a little bit more. For a lot of people of faith, right? People of faith, it's okay, I'm just going to have faith in me, but I'm not going to do any work.
Right.
We are not working for our faith.
Yeah.
We are not working for our salvation. We are working in terms of walking with God, living out our faith,
right?
Being diligent, being proactive. So there's no room for laziness, because it's easy for us human beings to be lazy and be content. There is a room for contentment. The contentment happens that don't be greedy. Whatever God is giving, be content in that, and use those blessings and opportunities as a seed in your life to activate these Kairos moments, right? many times we expect big things, okay? Whether financially, emotionally, physically, we expect bigger things.
Right.
When I start working out, very first day is super excited, right? So my picture is that, hey, I can just envision myself being,
right,
with a nice body, right? Healthy and all that. But it takes that Kronos time to work out, heavy lifting, sacrifice, discipline in your intakes, right?
Right.
Your discipline in the way you live your life, right?
Right.
So many times we undermine that investment. The very first episode we talked about investment part. We don't focus on that. We don't focus on that process part, right?
Right.
So process is that Kronos time. You are in your time. You're processing it. You're investing it. You are your input. You're doing things in the max what you can do.
Right.
Right. You haven't turned a single stone, up and down, right?
Right.
Because you are putting everything. When that moment happens, when the Kairos moment happens, again, you are not the one actually activating that Kairos moment.
No.
It's God's choice.
Yep.
We are not twisting God's hand. But God honors our hard work. God honors faith.
Right.
God honors our diligence, right?
Yeah.
So I firmly believe that there's a moment appointed for our breakthrough.
Yep. Amen.
Right? But many times, let's be honest, we don't get that.
Yeah.
Why is that? Is that God is lazy? Did God forget about that? Did he forget to put that breakthrough moments? No, he already put all the breakthrough moments for me. My miracles are there, right? But I'm not able to reach to that point because I'm not faithful in my process.
Right.
I don't understand that Kronos time.
Right.
I am not using my time. Right? I'm not investing it right way. I'm not growing. I'm just lazy.
Right. No, absolutely.
Right?
Yeah, that the big struggle that I'm having right now is, to be very honest, is health management, the exercise and when the statistics says is all these gyms, they get the more subscription comes in January, and do you know when the subscriptions fall down? It's on February. So 30 days. Right.
So no, I'm just laughing because I can see myself in that. I have done that so many times.
Yeah. So, right now I think like I need to listen what you just said. I can see the improvement in other areas of my life, but this is the biggest challenge that I'm facing and I need some sort of motivation, and I think I'll take this one, what you just said. Yeah. We need to invest, we need to manage our Kronos time. Especially, be very intentional.
Yeah.
Take out time and do it. And, like most of the time I have done this, like we try to do like everything in once, right? But take out the 10, 20, 30 minutes of time and then invest it. I did it, but like my biggest challenge is being very inconsistent. So right now, like my biggest, if I become now, this is the one area I really want to get focused. So what I did was I was in Meyer. So Asmita was like, hey, I think you need to study book because I don't see you studying this health related books. And I was like, I don't know what to read. So I was at Meyer, right? And then that in the self checkout, you'll see the magazine, right? Even in the checkout, you see that magazine. I saw the magazine of the health related magazine, the exercise related magazine,
men's health,
men's health and all that.
Yeah.
Before that, I took one magazine about tax and tax and understanding the tax returns, and it was pretty good, right? The magazine was really good, very helpful. So I thought like, hey, let's take this also, and I took, but that is the only magazine I've kept aside. I've not gone through. So probably, now I should go through that magazine. Get motivated. Probably waiting for Kronos time again.
And if you really understand in both concepts, there's one thing that's there, opportunity.
Right.
In Kronos, there's opportunity for us to optimize our time, invest our time, right? And because Kronos is chronological or sequential time, right? For me, not for me, for as human being, right? That 24 hours, right?
Right.
I cannot skip my hours. I have to go through it, right?
Right.
So I have to be mindful of that. There's a moment for me to rest. There's a moment for me to eat. There's a moment for me to, enjoy my time with my family. There's a moment for me to be faithful, to do the things that's like, creating opportunity for me. Opportunity is given, and also you're also creating opportunities for you, because now we are living in a time of opportunities, right? Resources are given to us, right? When opportunity is given, then there's a moment of decision.
Right.
Then you have to make the decision based on the opportunity and based on the resources that you have, right? So when the opportunity is given, it's your choice. Am I going to take this opportunity?
Right.
That moment of decision is there, right?
Right.
If you don't take it, it's gone.
Right.
It's gone, because I cannot skip, nor I can go back in my time zone.
No,
right?
absolutely. Yep.
So that's what something we have to understand, that many times, we can talk about a lot of time. Even I also just think about that, the Kairos moment. Okay, God will do something. There's a breakthrough is going to happen, but I have to come back to the place that, okay, what is that leading me towards that Kairos moment?
Right.
That's where my eyes start opening. Okay, if I need breakthroughs in my life, I need to really be faithful. My life should be in order.
Right.
I need to be on track. Am I on track?
Right.
Right. What am I doing right now? What do I have in my hand? Right. I have time. I have resources. I have health. Right. I have energy. Right. So you really have to take the inventory of your life. That what do I have in my hand? Because again, this is something that God asked me years ago, right? I used to complain a lot that I don't have it, this and blah, blah, blah. God said, no, I want to ask you a very simple question. What do you have in your hand? What do you have in your hands, right? So it really made me think that, okay, I think I have something that God has given to me already, that I'm not using it. That I'm not faithful, or I'm questioning my ability, or I'm questioning the giver who gave me that, right? So it starts with my life. It starts with my talent. It starts with my time. It starts with my abilities, inner abilities, right? So when I start focusing on that, I was able to see, it was real-time experience for me, that I'm overcoming a lot of my shame, lack of confidence, right? I was able to see that, I have something in me, right? And also helped me to understand that, okay, God is faithful to me.
Right.
So I'm depending on Him, right? So it really helped me to understand the Kronos time, how I need to invest it, how I need to manage it, how I need to honor that, right? So that's why even a couple of weeks ago, in our home group, I talked about that, for every second of our time is accountable.
Yep.
That we have to give account to God, right? So how do we, like our time management, how do we skillfully use those time, right? We cannot waste it. So again, reaching to that moment of Kairos will only happen when you know your Kronos, when you know how you manage everything that God has given to you, especially in the concept and the context of time.
Right. No. One other thing I'd like to mention from what you just said is 7 Habits of Highly Effective People is one of the most sold book now. It's written by Stephen R. Covey, and highly recommended book if you want to read.
Yes.
The author mentions about between stimulus and the response, there are 2 or 3 things. One is self awareness, and then the independent will, right? And if you look into this is what I quote every time, what Jesus told his disciples in that sermon when he gave on the mount, right? Matthew 5:3. Blessed are those who are poor in spirit and realize the need of God in their life, right? So when that means between stimulus and response, there is self-awareness and independent will, right? So that Jesus is saying, hey, you have to be self-aware. You need to control that your independent will, come before me and acknowledge that spiritual bankruptcy before me.
Very important.
When you acknowledge that, then my time is going to activate.
Yes.
Right?
Indeed.
Then you're going to experience. Now, there are other things too, but that's the key. That's why I said that's the key. No matter how luxurious your car is, if it doesn't have a key, no use.
Yeah.
That's the key, right?
Yeah.
So what you just mentioned was that. So I wanted to just highlight that.
Yeah. It's very important for us to understand these two important concepts, right? And it helps us to understand the nature of time also,
Right.
What it provides to us, right? While they are different, they both are important in our lives. Again, I'm mentioning, Kairos reminds us to be present in the moment,
Right.
And to seize the opportunity when they arise, while Kronos reminds us to be mindful of the passage of time and to use it wisely.
Yes.
Right? So when the time is going to come, capture it.
Right.
When that result is going to come, capture it. Right?
Yeah.
And if you are honest and diligent in utilizing your Kronos time, then this expectation is already in you. You're expecting, right?
Right.
For example, your wife is pregnant for 9 months, right? The 9 months of time it's going through is a Kronos time.
Right.
You cannot fast forward that.
No.
Can you?
No.
You cannot say that, hey, I need the baby in 3 months. That's the nature. It comes with the time comes with a nature.
Yes.
Right? And when that moment happens, baby comes out, Kronos, right? That moment, that result, right? You have to capture that moment, right?
Yes.
You have to be present. You cannot say that you waited for 9 months.
Yep.
Right? Especially being fathers, right? 9 months. Then the moment the baby comes, you say, man, I got some other things to do, right? But 9 months, you were so faithful. You were there serving your wife, right? But when the moment comes, I think all that build up was for this moment, for the Kairos moment. So there's always expectation. So I would always say that if you're faithful in your Kronos, there's expectation that's built up in you.
Yes, and also let's talk about who we are expecting with, right? So Paul talks about this, Ephesians 5:16. Time is evil, utilize it properly, right? The Kronos time. He's talking about the Kronos time, right? So when we are utilizing so we need to be very careful in what we are utilizing our time. Especially that's what I have felt, and that's what I encourage people. That we are called to be the missionaries in the land. That's what it is. We are called to influence His kingdom. So we have to be very mindful where we are investing our time.
Yeah.
And when we are investing our time, Kronos time, and you will experience that Kairos. Now, with whom you are experiencing this Kairos is with the living God.
Yes.
Right? Who's not dead God.
Yeah.
Right? Who resurrected 2,000 years ago.
Yes.
And still lives among us.
Yeah.
You hear about, hey, I need to pray for this sister, who's battling cancer. Or, hey, I need to pray for this, my brother who is looking for a job. I need to pray for somebody who is struggling in this life. And you come together and take out your time, right? And you pray for these people, right? And when you hear that they experience this Kairos moment in their life, that excites you more to invest your Kronos time very thoughtfully, very skillfully, co-partnering with God. So, Kronos time is very, very, very important.
Very important. Very important. And very valid point that you brought. And the most important point, I would say, who you are, living this time with, right?
Yes.
With the Almighty God. Because, John chapter 1, verse 1, right? In the beginning was the Word, right? So it talks about in the context of God is, and God is always, beyond the time zones of man.
Right.
He was there before, and the same God who was there before the beginning, right, is here.
Right.
But now He's in the flesh, right?
Yes.
The very God who is bigger than the time comes into our time to change our time.
Yeah. No, John 1:14 tells, right?
Yeah.
the Word became the flesh
Yes.
and dwells among us.
Yes.
That's so
Yes.
exciting, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So you can see the conversion of the Kronos and the Kairos actually
coming together.
God Himself, because when the blessing happens, right, when the miracle happens in our life, it's not just about that miracle. It's about the God of the miracle.
Right.
God comes into that place, right? So miracle is not separated from God.
Right.
It's who He is, right?
Right.
So it's a whole package we get in Him, right? So when Christ, who is the fullness of God, appeared in the human flesh, that was like, it was Kronos time, prophetically built up. Daniel talked about that, Isaiah talked about that, Jeremiah talked about that, build up. When it happened, it became Kairos time. Right? So that Kairos, not just the time where He appeared, He Himself is a Kairos, right?
Right.
He appeared in the man's Kronos time.
Yes.
So man's Kronos time was messed up.
Yeah.
It was all messed up.
Right.
We don't even know where we're going.
Right.
We don't even know about time, right?
Right.
Horrible time, right? When God comes. So that's something that encourages us that no matter how bad our time is,
Right. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
the moment we seek after God, He can change our Kronos time.
No, absolutely.
He comes in, as a Kairos and changes our Kronos time.
Yeah. So now I'll go back to, that's a very good point you brought, and I'll go back to 2020 in one of the sermon that you mentioned. It was just during the early days of COVID. And I vividly remember you talked about, hey, God knew these days are coming, right? Probably we may not have understood it. God knew it. And then you encouraged we are the child of God, right? If He knew it, what's going to be out there, then He will give us that grace,
Yes.
how to live out in it.
Yes.
Right? So we need to be very, very thoughtful about investing our time, the Kronos time, but at the same time, there is a Kairos time.
Yes.
Because we are so confident that we don't serve a dead God, who has a solid purpose for us in our life.
Yeah.
And again, to put that into to put what I said
In a context.
in a one point is, again, to experience the glorification.
Yes.
Right? From your last sermon.
Yes. Yes.
That's all it is.
Yes.
Justification, sanctification, and
Glorification.
then glorification. So.
Let me give you an example, of Esther, Queen Esther, right?
Right.
Queen Esther, just like Daniel, they were taken as exiles. They're living in a foreign country, right? But how Queen Esther invested her Kronos time, of course, with the help of Mordecai.
Right.
That's the valid point that you brought. I said, who you are living out this time with is God. So Mordecai represents the Holy Spirit, right? God. So you're living. So Mordecai helped her to go through that process, present her in that palace, right? And teach her the ways. Got her the favor,
right?
All those things. So you don't have to search for favor. Holy Spirit is there. He will open up the doors for you. He will prepare you, right? You just depend. You just do what He's asking you to do, right? So Esther had to do things what Mordecai couldn't do. Mordecai helped her to do the things what she's supposed to do, right? So Esther did very faithfully what she was supposed to do, and Esther went through a process. Physical beautification, spiritual, that assurance, right? But when the time came, what was real was revealed.
Yes.
When the time, and it was a time again, the Kronos. It was a bad Kronos for Israelites.
Yes.
Right? The decree was passed against them.
Yep.
But look at how Esther used her Kronos.
Yeah.
She didn't say that our time is bad. Why should I put my head on the line?
Right.
Why should I put my head on the chopping block, right?
Yep.
So you can look at the time around Manjeel. You can say that the world is just going haywire. So, hey, it's okay.
Right.
Or you can say, just like Esther, that I know the time is bad, but the time that God has given to me, I can do something that can change the nature of the time around me.
Right.
You have the power. That's why you said missionary, right? In other words, you're influencer.
Right.
Right? In your workplace, your home, community, wherever you are, people may be encountering bad times.
Right.
They may be encountering horrible times. But the time you have in your hand is given by God because you understand Kronos time and you are using that. So it's not just your life is going to change or your time or the results is going to change, but it's going to have impact. So what happened? We all know the story about Esther.
Yes.
She used her Kronos time wisely, fasted, prayed, called her servants to fast with her. Look at what God did.
Yeah.
Favor.
Yep.
It's a bigger breakthrough.
Yeah, that's a very good thing. Because Esther was able to use her Kronos time. Every Israelite experienced that Kairos moment. You being one, if we are able to utilize our Kronos time properly, co-partnering with God, there are people who are going to experience. God is going to work through us so that people can experience that Kairos moment, right? So yesterday I was talking with one of the brother, and he mentioned, you know what? To change, if we have to change this America back to God, we need another Billy Graham. Then I said, then who we are?
Exactly. Thank you for saying that.
Then who we are, Billy Graham was a child of God, served faithfully.
Absolutely.
God worked through him to touch even the life of communist, right? So, now God is calling us. God is calling us to be the Billy Graham. God is calling us. So we have to use this Kronos time so that just how God used Billy Graham, who utilized his Kronos time so that, people across the globe was able to experience that Kairos moment. Now God is calling us to do that so that, if we are able to utilize this Kronos time, there are people who are going to experience the Kairos moment.
I mean, you hit right on the head of, right on that target. Many times, again, we are making excuses. Excuses of, what if that person was here?
Right.
What if I had this, right? How about changing our perspective? Again, what do we have in our hands?
Right.
Who am I partnering with? Living out this Kronos time.
Right.
That will change everything. If you dig into the life and the background from where Billy Graham came or any of the great men and women of God, none of them were qualified, in terms of, influencers or great, world changers. They were not.
Right.
Common people, simple, pious. But they made themselves available and understood the scope of their call.
Right.
They did not make excuse. They might have, but eventually they came to the place that, I have a purpose and a task to fulfill, and they were faithful, and now they're resting in God's presence. So now it's our time. I would say that. It's my time.
Right.
What am I going to do? Am I doing something that is creating legacy that I can pass it? Am I inspiring you? Am I inspiring the people, right? If I'm not inspiring, if I'm not using my time to bring change around me, then I am not using my Kronos time.
Right.
I may be expecting Kairos, but I don't think I'm going to receive that Kairos moment because I am not using my Kronos.
Right.
So you said it so right, so well, Yeah.
Absolutely. With this, I think we have to, in our discussion here, it was a very, very good talk. Even, while recording, even I was listening to so much of stuff, and even I need to implement so much of things in my life as well, honestly speaking. So even I was blessed while speaking, and when I was blessed and I felt God was speaking to me as well. So, we hope you really enjoyed the talk. If you feel blessed, if God is speaking to you through this podcast, feel free to write comment or reach out to us. We'd like to get connected with you, pray with you, walk with you. And at the same time, we need to get your favor for that as a subscriber. You can subscribe using that subscribe button, and to get the notification you can also hit that bell icon where every time we upload the podcast you'll be notified automatically. So with that, we would like to end today's podcast, and at the same time I would like to thank you, Pastor Jaison, and thank you all. We will see you next episode. Bye-bye.
Thank you.